If you clicked for the moment, my husband blamed me, and my own son believed him. Trust me, this is where everything starts, and where everything begins to fall apart. I swear, I can still hear the sound that started the whole disaster. A loud, angry slam our front door, shaking like someone kicked it instead of closing it. At first, I thought it was a random accident, maybe the wind, or maybe Daniel just being careless like he always was when he came home in a mood. But when he yelled my name, that's when I knew something was seriously off. Maria? His voice wasn't normal angry. It was sharp, loaded, like he'd been practicing the tone all the way from his car to the front porch. I stepped out of the kitchen, wiping my hands on a towel, even though they weren't even wet. Just nervous habit, I guess. What happened? I asked, honestly confused. Daniel stormed toward me with his phone clutched in his hand, like he was holding evidence of a murder. Behind him was my son, my sweet Ethan, and the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. Not angry, not sad, worse, disappointed. And he didn't even know what he was disappointed about yet. He just believed whatever story Daniel shoveled into his head before they walked through that door. Daniel shoved the phone toward Ethan first, not me, 'cause that's what he wanted. My own son turning on me before I even got a chance to breathe. Show him, Daniel said. Let him see what his mother's been doing. Ethan swallowed hard, glanced at Daniel like he needed permission, and then turned the phone toward me. It was a screenshot, a bank transfer, $5,200 from our joint account to someone labeled KM. Daniel folded his arms like he was waiting for applause. So, he said, are you gonna confess? I blinked slowly. Confess what? That you're sending money to another man. He said it like it was already proven in a court of law. Ethan's eyes dropped to the floor. Mom, why would you do that? My heart cracked, not cracked, because even though I knew I did nothing wrong, the fact my own child asked me that was enough to burn. I took the phone from Ethan's shaking hands and stared at the transfer. I almost laughed. If the situation wasn't so pathetic, so humiliating, so ridiculous, I actually would have laughed. That's Karen, I said calmly. Karen Miller, my coworker. She paid for the hotel and flight when my card glitched and I reimbursed her. You literally know about the trip, Daniel. Daniel scoffed. Convenient. No, it's exactly what happened, I said. Call Karen if you want. But Daniel wasn't listening. He wasn't interested in truth. He was interested in making me the villain. Ethan looked between us, clearly torn but leaning toward his father, because Daniel had gotten to him first. Your dad said you've been distant lately, Ethan whispered. He said you've been hiding things. Hiding? I repeated. Ethan, I let both of you use my phone all the time. You deleted the messages, Daniel snapped. I stared at him. I didn't delete anything. But he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want an explanation. He wanted a target. And right now, his target was me. The worst part? My son was buying every word. But what neither of them knew was that I already had the kind of proof they couldn't argue with. The kind that doesn't shake, doesn't lie, doesn't twist, doesn't leave room for maybe. They thought they caught me in something. But I was about to show them the truth. And when I say it would flip everything, I mean everything. The moment Daniel said, I know everything, I realized he only knew the lies he wanted to believe. Daniel stood in front of me like a prosecutor ready to deliver his closing argument. He wasn't breathing normally. His chest was puffed out, jaw clenched, eyes burning with the confidence of someone who thinks they've already won. Explain yourself, Maria, he demanded. For what? I replied. My voice was steady, but my hands were ice cold. He held up the phone again, shaking it like some holy scripture. You know exactly what you did. I stared right back at him. No, I actually don't. That irritated him more than anything else, because Daniel hated uncertainty. He wanted me flustered, cornered, small. Instead, I was calm, too calm for his liking. He shoved the screenshot in my face again, like repetition would magically make it a scandal. $5,200, he said slowly. To someone named KM. You expect us to believe that's innocent? Yes, I said, because it literally is. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, uncomfortable but choosing his father's side anyway. Dad said you've been acting weird, he mumbled. There it was again, Dad said, like Daniel was some authority on truth. Ethan, sweetheart, your dad loves jumping to conclusions, I said softly. This isn't what he thinks it is. Daniel barked a laugh. Barked. He didn't laugh like a human anymore. Oh, now I'm the dramatic one, he snapped. You think we're stupid? I think, I said clearly, you're seeing what you want to see, and you're letting someone else feed that. Daniel blinked a little too long. Ethan noticed. Barely, but I saw the flicker in his eyes. Who showed you this screenshot, Daniel? I asked suddenly. He stiffened, and that reaction told me everything. Ethan straightened up slightly. Dad? Who sent it? Daniel swallowed, loud. Just someone. No, I said. Not someone. Who? He exhaled sharply through his nose, nostrils flaring. It was Alicia, okay? My sister. Of course. Alicia, the woman who hated me since day one, who believed I married Daniel for money, and who once told me, don't get too comfortable. Men get bored. Why is she monitoring our bank account? I asked. Daniel crossed his arms again, defensive. She's helping me manage things. No, I corrected. She's helping you watch me. Ethan's eyebrows raised a little. He was starting to see cracks. Daniel's voice rose. You're twisting everything? No, Daniel, I said. You are. I took a slow breath, feeling energy shift. A calm I hadn't felt in a long time settled over me. Do you want to know the funniest part? I asked. Daniel glared. What? You think a bank screenshot is the whole story. I leaned in slightly, but you don't even know the half of it. His face twitched because he knew. He knew there was something he wasn't prepared for. And he was right, because the proof he thought he had against me was nothing compared to the proof I had against him. The kind of proof that would flip the whole situation inside out. But I wasn't ready to show it yet. Not until he buried himself further. Not until Ethan saw with his own eyes that his father wasn't the man he thought he was. Not until Daniel pushed the wrong button, which, knowing him, was absolutely coming. And fast. If Daniel thought waving a bank screenshot in my face was enough to destroy me, he had no idea I was holding something that could destroy his entire narrative. I didn't sit down. I didn't break down. I didn't even blink the way Daniel hoped I would. Instead, I leaned against the edge of the dining table, crossed my arms, and said, Okay, let's talk about this like adults. Who sent you the screenshot? And why? Daniel didn't answer, which was already an answer. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. I looked directly at Daniel. Let me guess. Alicia couldn't mind her own business again? Daniel tightened his jaw. Leave my sister out of this. Oh, I'd love to, I said. But she shoved herself into it the moment she started spying on our bank accounts. Ethan's head shot up. Wait, spying? Daniel spun toward him. No, she was just helping. She had your login, didn't she? I cut in. And your password? Daniel's face turned an interesting shade of red. Ethan blinked slowly, connecting dots. Dad, seriously? You gave her access to everything? Daniel stuttered. It's not what you think. I raised a brow. Really? Because it looks like she's been trying to find something on me for months. Ethan frowned. Has she? Daniel snapped. Don't listen to her. She's deflecting. That word again, deflecting. Men like him adored that word. I stepped closer. Daniel, if you accuse me of something, you better be prepared for me to look directly at the person feeding you lies. Ethan swallowed, quiet, but listening. I tapped the phone still in Daniel's hand. Let's think. Why would Alicia want this to look suspicious? Why would she grab a random transfer, crop it, send it to you with zero context? Silence. Because even Daniel couldn't spin that instantly. I wasn't finished, because she hates me. And she knows if you and I fight, she gets what she wants. Daniel rolled his eyes, trying to recenter control, but I didn't let him. You know what the funniest part is? I asked. He didn't ask what. He didn't need to. I literally told you when I reimbursed Karen, I said. You nodded. You said, cool, thanks for handling it. You remember that? Or is it selective memory day? Ethan turned sharply. Dad? Daniel's face remained stone, but Ethan's wasn't. He was slowly realizing something. His father had jumped to conclusions, without asking a single question, without giving me a chance, without checking facts, without thinking. Daniel cleared his throat, tried to recover. You must have said something else, he muttered. Or maybe you changed the story. Oh, for God's sake, I snapped, losing patience. You want to talk about changing stories? You? He flinched, because he knew where this was heading. I took a deep breath, held it for a moment, and then spoke clearly. Daniel, why don't you tell Ethan why you were in Alicia's apartment last weekend? Ethan's eyebrows shot up. Wait, what? Daniel took a step toward me, lowering his voice. Maria, don't you dare! But the thing was, I absolutely dared. Tell him, I said. Tell him why you lied about helping her move furniture when she lives on the first floor and owns 2 chairs and a coffee table. Maria, Daniel hissed, stop. Ethan looked at his father, confused. Dad, what is she talking about? Daniel opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. And that silence was the first crack in his perfect facade. I took my time crossing the room, walking over to the small drawer by the living room window. I pulled out a folded piece of paper and old printout and laid it gently on the dining table between all 3 of us. Ethan stepped closer. What's that? Phone records, I said. 2 months' worth. Daniel's face drained of all color. Ethan scanned the page, his finger tracing down the list of calls. Calls at midnight, calls during work hours. Calls during times Daniel told us he was working late. All to one number. The same number. The number labeled Alicia. Ethan looked up at his father slowly, disbelief flooding his face. Dad, why were you talking to Aunt Alicia this much? Daniel's lips parted, trying to form a lie. Trying to invent something on the spot. Maria, he finally said, voice trembling with anger, you went through my things? No, I replied. You left the bill on the counter, like you always do. He swallowed hard. Ethan held the paper tighter. You said you barely talked to her. You said she just needed help sometimes. You lied. Daniel reached out. Buddy, listen. Don't call me Buddy right now, Ethan exploded. That was when I knew the shift had started. The house felt different, the air felt different, the balance was tilting. Daniel saw it too, which is why he doubled down. You're being manipulated. Ethan, she's twisting it to make me look bad. But Ethan shook his head. No, Dad, she's showing me your calls, your actions. It's your handwriting in that notebook. Your voice raising, your accusations, not hers. Daniel's face hardened, desperate. You're taking her side? Ethan didn't hesitate. I'm taking the side that's telling the truth. Daniel's chest rose and fell faster and faster as he realized what was happening. He was losing control. The narrative wasn't his anymore. Ethan was slipping away. The plan was unraveling too fast. And he blamed me for all of it. But he didn't know something very important. He hadn't even seen the real proof yet. Because the next thing I was going to show them would shatter everything they thought they knew, If Ethan thought those phone records were the end of the story, he had no idea they were only the first thread of a much uglier truth. The moment Ethan dropped the paper onto the table, the whole room felt off balance. Like the floor tilted just a little, and everyone was trying to pretend it didn't. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands, pacing like a man searching for a way out of a burning building. Okay, he muttered. This is getting blown way out of proportion. Ethan stared at him. How? You said you barely talked to her. Some days you called her 6 times. 6? For what? Daniel threw his hands up. She needed help with finances. She doesn't understand her bills, her lease, her. She's a grown woman, I said, and she's been doing that just fine for 36 years. You don't know her like I do, he snapped. Ethan flinched at the volume. I didn't, because I'd heard that tone too many times. Daniel realized he messed up, so he dialed back immediately. Ethan, look, your aunt relies on me. She doesn't have anyone else. Mom relies on you too, Ethan said quietly. And you're here accusing her of this? Daniel pointed at the screenshot again like it was a divine revelation. This is not nothing, Ethan. No, Ethan shot back. But your calls at 1:13 a.m. are nothing? Daniel froze. I watched him carefully. His breathing, his eyes, his shoulders tightening. He wasn't panicking because he was innocent. He was panicking because the spotlight had turned around, and Daniel hated being on stage unless he was the hero. He tried another tactic, turning to me. You planned this, he said coldly. You're turning him against me. I folded my arms. Didn't have to turn anyone. Your actions did the job. He stepped closer. Don't get smug, Maria. I'm not done. Ethan stepped between us without thinking. For the first time in his life, he physically stood in front of me, not behind his father. Dad, stop. Daniel blinked, shocked. Ethan kept going. You came home ready to attack Mom without asking one question. 1. You believed Aunt Alicia instantly, and she hates Mom. That's not true. She literally told Mom she was a placeholder last Christmas, Ethan snapped. You didn't say a word. Daniel opened his mouth to deny it, but there was nothing to deny, because he was standing in front of 2 people who had finally stopped pretending. I walked to the coffee table and picked up my own phone. Calmly, quietly, intentionally. Daniel stiffened. What's that? He asked. The part of the story you conveniently skipped, I said, and the proof you'd never expected I'd have. Ethan leaned closer. What proof? I unlocked my phone, clicked on a folder I'd hidden behind a password Daniel never knew. The folder was named Insurance. Daniel's eyes widened because he recognized the interface. He knew exactly what it was before I even turned the screen around. Maria, he whispered, voice cracking, don't. He sounded afraid. Good. I held the phone so both Ethan and Daniel could see the screen. This, I said calmly, is our hallway camera footage from last Friday. Ethan blinked. We have hallway cameras? Oh yes, I said. Your father insisted we install them for safety. Funny how he forgot about them when he came home at 12:48 a.m. Daniel choked. I wasn't. That's a misunderstanding, was it? I asked. I clicked play. The footage loaded, and there he was. Daniel, coming home late at night, not alone. Alicia was with him, her hand on his arm. His head leaned toward her, whispering, laughing. Too close. Too familiar. Too intimate for 2 people who claimed they were just talking. But the worst part? The part that made Ethan's face go blank? Daniel kissed her cheek at the door. A slow kiss, a comfortable kiss, a kiss that did not belong between a married man and his sister. Ethan stepped back like someone punched him. Dad, what? What is that? Daniel shook his head violently. It's not what it looks like. She was upset. She was crying. No, she wasn't, Ethan said, eyes glued to the screen. She was smiling. Daniel turned to me, desperate now. You set me up. You planned this. You're trying to destroy my family. I tilted my head. You destroyed it when you chose her over us. Silence. Ethan slowly sank onto the couch, both hands in his hair. I don't believe this. Dad, why? Why would you do this? Daniel's breathing turned erratic. He grabbed the back of a chair like he needed support. Ethan, I can explain. Please do, Ethan whispered, voice trembling. Because right now, it looks like you blamed Mom for something you were doing. Daniel's mouth opened. They couldn't form a sentence. Because there were none left, and he knew it. I sat down across from him, calm as a winter morning. That's not even the worst part, I said softly. Daniel's head snapped up. Ethan's eyes lifted, both waiting, both scared, both completely unprepared for what was coming next. Because the next proof was the one that would break everything open. When Ethan finally said, Dad, tell the truth, Daniel realized he wasn't in control anymore, and that scared him more than anything. Daniel's face was pale. Not the normal I'm angry pale. This was the I'm trapped pale. The kind of pale that shows a man knows the walls are closing in. Ethan was sitting on the edge of the couch, staring at the screen in my hand, voice tight and shaky. Dad, tell the truth. Daniel's lips trembled. His jaw worked like he was chewing on words he didn't have. Because the truth, the real truth, wasn't something he could control anymore. I can explain, Daniel stammered. But the pause that followed was deadly. Ethan shook his head. No, I want the whole truth. Not excuses. Not stories. Not lies. Daniel's eyes flicked toward me. A warning. A plea. But I just leaned back in my chair, calm, patient. Finally in the position I deserved to be in. Ethan, I said softly, you're about to see how your father has been spinning a story to make me look like the villain. And it's all lies. Ethan swallowed hard. Mom, okay. Daniel tried another tactic smile, casual tone, fake humor. Ethan, your mom is emotional. Don't let her. Ethan cut him off sharply. Stop. Just tell me. I'm done with you lying. I almost smiled at that. My boy, finally standing up to the person who tried to control him. Daniel's voice dropped lower. I didn't want you to worry. Worry? Ethan scoffed. You made me believe Mom was the bad guy. Daniel's throat worked. He was panicking. Because he realized that his carefully built story, the one he told, himself, would protect him, was collapsing in front of his son's eyes. I leaned forward, showing Ethan the notebook, the one he had left in the car glove compartment, full of receipts, numbers, transactions, dates, every dollar Daniel thought no one would notice. Ethan flipped through the pages. Dad, this is all you. Daniel's hands went to his face. Maria, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You blamed me, tried to make Ethan distrust me, and hid everything you were doing. You wanted to control the narrative, but you forgot something. Ethan looked up at me. What? I don't just take your word. I watch, I listen, I record, and I keep proof. Daniel swallowed audibly. He knew exactly what I meant. Then I pressed play on my phone. His own voice whispering, She won't notice. She trusts me. Just send the screenshot and make it look like she transferred it. Ethan's mouth fell open. Daniel's face turned a shade whiter than before. That's you? Ethan whispered. Daniel's hands dropped. It's not what it sounds like. Oh, it's exactly what it sounds like, I said. Ethan turned to his father, voice shaking but firm. Why would you do this? Why lie about Mom? Why send me the screenshot to make me think she was guilty? Daniel's chest rose and fell. Faster, faster. panic creeping in, because he realized the truth had outpaced his lies, and he was running out of words. I let the recording play out fully. Every whisper, every plan, every lie he thought would go unnoticed. Ethan sat frozen, staring at Daniel like he was seeing a stranger. Daniel tried to grab the phone. "I can explain." "No!" Ethan shouted. "Stop! Just stop!" I held it higher. The power in the room had shifted. From Daniel to me. From lies to truth. Daniel knew in that moment that his control was gone. His plan had failed, and nothing he could say would fix it. Ethan looked at me, finally, not with disappointment, but with trust. And for the first time that night, I felt relief. Because truth, finally, was winning. Daniel thought he could keep lying, but he didn't realize the real proof was already in my hands. Proof that would end his act once and for all. Daniel's face was pale, lips pressed together like he was trying to seal the truth inside. He backed up a step, as if distance could somehow save him from what was coming. Ethan still sat on the couch, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, trying to process the storm that had just hit their family. Daniel tried to speak, but his voice was unsteady. "Maria, you went too far this time. This is manipulation." I leaned casually against the table, calm as a cat before it pounces. "Manipulation?" "Daniel, you were the one manipulating us. You spun lies, you made Ethan doubt me, and you trusted Alicia over your own family." Ethan's gaze shifted rapidly between us. His voice was barely a whisper. "Dad, why would you do this?" Daniel swallowed. His hands shook slightly. It wasn't like that. I held up my phone again. Oh yes, it was exactly like that. I opened another folder, the one he never suspected, the one he forgot existed. A folder I'd quietly built over weeks, months even, documenting every suspicious call, every shady transfer, every attempt to twist reality in his favor. "This," I said, placing the phone on the table, "is the real story. Every whisper, every plan, every lie." Daniel's eyes darted to the screen. He recognized it immediately, and for the first time that night, fear took over his arrogance. Ethan leaned forward. "Mom, this is all him?" I nodded. "Yes, every bit, and there's more." Daniel's breathing became rapid. "Maria, you're crossing a line. Don't, I repeated, my voice calm but deadly. "Daniel, you crossed every line before I did. You blamed me, you turned our son against me, and you lied. Don't tell me about lines." Ethan's face hardened. "Dad, I can't believe you lied to me." Daniel reached out toward him. "Buddy, listen." Ethan shook his head violently. "No, I'm done listening to lies. Mom's showing me the truth." I pressed play. The recording filled the room with Daniel's own voice, whispering secrets to Alicia, plotting ways to frame me. Ethan's hand went to his mouth. "Dad, why? Why would you do this?" Daniel's voice broke. I didn't want you to know." I leaned in, slow, deliberate. "You didn't want anyone to know. That's right, that's the truth. And now? Now, everyone knows." Daniel's face drained of color. He realized the narrative, the story he controlled, was gone. Not only gone, but exposed. Every lie laid bare, every manipulation undone. Ethan looked at me with tears in his eyes, finally trusting again. Daniel, meanwhile, stared at the floor, too proud to cry, too exposed to speak. I watched them both, calm, collected, and victorious in the silent way only someone with proof in their hands can feel. This was the turning point. Daniel's lies were unraveling, and Ethan's trust in me was returning, slowly, painfully, but undeniably. And I knew one thing. The next steps had to be careful, because Daniel wasn't done yet. He would try again, but now, I was ready. The moment Daniel's own voice filled the room, he realized he had lost control and there was no coming back. The recording played, crisp and undeniable. Daniel's voice, whispering, plotting, explaining ways to make me look guilty. Every word, every inflection, every lie was captured. Ethan sat frozen. His hands were trembling slightly. He had never seen his father like this, so exposed, so powerless, so human in all the wrong ways. Daniel's hands flew to his face. "Stop! Stop it!" he shouted. I held the phone higher. "No, Daniel. You need to hear this. Ethan needs to hear this." The silence after the recording was deafening. Even the house seemed to hold its breath, because truth had weight, and it was pressing down on Daniel in a way he could feel in his bones. Ethan finally whispered, voice shaking, "Dad, is this true?" Daniel's lips parted, and for the first time all night, he couldn't form a lie. His pride, his control, everything he thought made him untouchable, had vanished. I spoke softly, letting my words cut through the tension. "Ethan, everything your father accused me of? Every suspicion, every lie, every doubt he tried to plant in your head? None of it was true, and now you can see it." Ethan looked at me, wide-eyed, searching for the truth in my face. I can't believe this," he said. "Dad, why would you? Why?" Daniel swallowed, silent, defeated, because he knew there was no answer that could fix this. No explanation that could make it right. And worst of all, he knew Ethan had already made up his mind. I kept my voice calm, but firm. "I tried to stay out of it, Daniel. I tried to let you play the villain in our home. But you underestimated me, and now, so has Ethan." Ethan's eyes finally lifted to meet mine. "Mom, I believe you," he said softly, almost breaking. "I should have trusted you from the start." Daniel's chest heaved. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Nothing came out. Because the weight of the evidence, the recordings, the notebook, the screen, it was suffocating him. And he knew it. I leaned back in my chair, finally feeling a surge of calm. For months, I had been blamed, doubted, and undermined. For months, I had carried the weight of lies that weren't mine. And tonight, the truth had its moment. Daniel's hands dropped to his sides, limp and powerless. Ethan stayed glued to my side, as if instinctively he knew the truth had finally aligned with him. And Daniel? He realized in that split second that the man he thought he was, the one who controlled his household and his family, had crumbled. Completely. I smiled faintly, not out of cruelty, but out of relief, because sometimes the truth is the sharpest weapon. And tonight, it had won. Daniel wasn't done lying, but he didn't know his biggest lie was already recorded and about to destroy everything he thought he controlled. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Daniel's face was pale, and his hands twitched as if he couldn't decide whether to flee or fight. Ethan sat beside me, gripping my hand, eyes wide but filled with trust for the first time that night. Daniel tried to speak, his voice low and shaky. "Maria, you're taking this too far. You don't understand." I cut him off, calm but piercing. "I understand perfectly, Daniel. You blamed me for things you were doing behind my back. You turned our son against me. You tried to make me the villain in my own home. And you thought you could get away with it." Ethan's eyes darted between us, absorbing every word. "Dad, why would you do that? Why blame Mom when you were the one?" Daniel flinched, "Ethan, no, it's not. Yes, it is," I snapped, "and you know it. And now you're about to see the real proof." Daniel's hands went to his head. "Maria, stop." I reached for my phone again. Not the recordings from before, not the notebook. This time, something Daniel had completely forgotten. The video clips from our hallway camera. He froze when I tapped the screen. "You didn't," he whispered, voice cracking. "Oh, I did," I said, And you forgot, didn't you? The camera you insisted we install for safety. Well, it caught everything. Ethan's brow furrowed. Mom, what do you mean? I pressed play. There was Daniel, walking through the hallway at 12:48 a.m. Not alone. Alicia beside him, whispering, laughing. Too close. Too familiar. Then the part that made Ethan's eyes widen completely. Daniel leaned forward and kissed her cheek. The room went silent. Ethan's hand flew to his mouth. Dad, what? Why? Daniel's voice shook. It's not what it looks like. I tilted my head, calm. Really? Because it looks exactly like what it is. Ethan looked at me, stunned, then back at his father. Why? Why would you lie to me? To us? Daniel's chest heaved. I didn't want to hurt anyone. You've already hurt me, Ethan, and yourself, I said quietly. And now the truth is finally out. Daniel's shoulders slumped. He wasn't angry anymore. Not really. Fear, shame, and desperation had replaced his rage. Ethan sank back on the couch, his voice low but firm. I can't believe this. You lied to me, Dad. You lied about Mom. You lied about everything. Daniel tried to reach out to him, but Ethan pulled back. I'm done listening, he said. I want the truth, all of it. No excuses. I leaned forward, calm and collected. Exactly. And now, Daniel, it's time for you to tell the truth, because I have everything, and I mean everything, documented. No story you try to spin will work anymore. Daniel's hands fell to his sides. He realized what I had. And for the first time in that house, he knew he had lost. The hallway camera footage was just the beginning. The notebook, the recordings, every lie, every plan, every whispered attempt to make me look guilty. All of it was laid bare. Ethan turned to me, eyes glistening. Mom, I believe you. I'm sorry I doubted you. I squeezed his hand. It's okay, baby. You just needed to see the truth. Daniel looked between us, powerless, defeated, and I knew. From this moment forward, everything had changed. The liar in the house had been exposed, and the mother and son had reclaimed their trust, their home, and their truth. Daniel thought one lie could control the room, but he didn't realize that every lie he ever told was about to come crashing down around him. Daniel stood frozen, staring at Ethan and me like a man caught in a trap. His eyes darted everywhere except ours. The air in the room was heavy, tense, filled with words unsaid, but everyone could feel the truth pressing down on them. Ethan shook his head slowly. I can't believe you. All this time, blaming Mom. Daniel's lips moved, but no sound came out. Because the truth? The truth was louder than any lie he could whisper, and right now, the room was deafening. I took a deep breath. This isn't about yelling or blaming anymore, Daniel, I said calmly. It's about facts. And the facts are simple. You lied. You tried to manipulate both of us, and you underestimated me. Daniel's hands trembled slightly. Maria, you don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. Every time you thought I was asleep, every time you whispered your lies to Ethan, every little attempt to make me look guilty, I understood. And I kept proof. Ethan leaned closer, listening intently. Mom, what proof? I pressed play on my phone again. Not the recordings this time. Not the notebook. But the text messages, the emails, the evidence of every single lie Daniel had tried to spin in his favor. Daniel flinched as the first text appeared on the screen. Make it look like she's lying about the money. She won't notice. Then another. Don't let her see the emails. Send Ethan a screenshot. Trust me, he'll believe me first. Ethan's eyes widened. Dad, these are yours. Daniel's throat worked, unable to form a coherent sentence. I didn't. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, I said, calm, steady. No more excuses, no more stories. No more lies. Ethan's gaze hardened, finally seeing his father for what he truly was. A man who had let his pride and deceit take over his family. Daniel's hands went to his head. "This isn't fair. You're twisting things," he shouted. I shook my head slowly. "I'm not twisting anything. You did it all. Every lie, every manipulation. And now, the truth is out." Ethan took a deep breath. "I trusted you, Dad. I trusted you and you. You used me against Mom." Daniel's voice dropped, almost pleading. I just wanted." "Wanted what?" I interrupted. "To control us? To make me the villain? To make your son doubt his own mother? That's what you wanted, Daniel." He opened his mouth again, then closed it, because he knew there was no answer that could undo what had just happened. Ethan's voice trembled but was firm. "Mom, I believe you. I should have trusted you from the start. I'm sorry." I reached over and held his hand. "It's okay, baby. You see the truth now. That's all that matters." Daniel stood in silence, defeated, exposed, powerless, and I knew right then that nothing would ever be the same. The lies were done, the truth had won, and the mother-son bond, unbroken by deceit, had been restored stronger than ever. But there was one final piece left to show. One piece Daniel had no idea existed. And when he saw it, he would finally understand just how thoroughly he had lost. Daniel thought the worst was over, but he had no idea the final proof would leave him speechless and completely exposed. The room was heavy with tension. Daniel's face was pale, jaw tight, and hands trembling slightly. Ethan sat beside me, still gripping my hand, his eyes wide and filled with a mix of shock and trust. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Daniel, there's one last thing you need to see, one piece you completely forgot about." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "What? What now?" I reached into the drawer and pulled out a small envelope. Inside, neatly stacked, were copies of everything he had done: receipts, emails, screenshots, recordings, even his own handwriting from the notebook. Daniel froze. "Maria, you—" "Yes," I said softly. "I kept every single bit of proof. And now it's all here, where you can't deny it." Ethan leaned forward. "Mom, is this everything?" I nodded. "Everything. And you're going to see exactly what your father tried to hide." I handed the envelope to Ethan. He flipped through the papers slowly, his eyes widening with each page. Texts from Daniel to Alicia, plotting lies. Bank transfers manipulated. Voice recordings of him coaching Ethan to believe me guilty. Ethan looked up, shocked. "Dad, why? Why would you do all this?" Daniel's hands went to his head. I can explain." I shook my head. "No, you can't. Because you thought no one would notice. You thought we'd blindly follow your story. But we didn't. And now, everyone knows." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I believe you. I'm so sorry I doubted you." I held him close. "It's okay, baby. You had to see the truth yourself." Daniel sank into a chair, defeated, powerless, and completely exposed. His pride shattered, his lies dismantled, and for the first time, he realized that trying to control us had backfired spectacularly. I looked at him, calm and resolute. "You blamed me, lied about me, turned our son against me. And now, Daniel, you're alone in the truth." Daniel's face fell, silent. No words could save him now. Ethan held my hand tighter. He had chosen the truth, chosen trust, chosen me. And that, in the end, was the victory. I looked around the room, taking a deep breath. For months, I had been blamed, doubted, and undermined. Tonight, that ended. The lies were gone, the truth had won, And Daniel had no way to undo the damage. I leaned back, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in a long time, peace settled in our home. Because when you have proof, when you stand firm, and when the truth is on your side, nothing can break you. Ethan looked up at me, smiling faintly through tears. Mom, thank you. I knew you were telling the truth. I hugged him tightly. Always, baby. Always. And Daniel? He sat silently, finally realizing that his reign of lies had ended. The mother and son were stronger than ever. And nothing, not deception, not manipulation, not even fear could change that again.